Are you there, Asa?
Hi, yes, I'm here.
Right now, how are you doing? Because you said you went out a bit late last night. Are you feeling all right this morning?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Yeah.
Good to hear. Look, I'll just go through this story so people know what we're talking about. This is a clip of you last year. I'll just play short.
Quite terrifying. And they it all in all they were here for about 3 hours, and they took away all of my devices that I use for my work as a journalist, and they made it very clear that they knew what my profession was, they knew who I was, and this was in regards to social media posts that I'd made. They didn't specify which ones. They didn't arrest me, thankfully. They did let me speak to my solicitor on the day, but I was really given no choice. But although I registered my objections very strongly to what they were doing, I was given no choice, and they took away my means of livelihood, if nothing else.
Now that was last year, and then this week I saw this great story that you put out on your Substack, which I recommend everyone subscribes to. Judge rules October raid on my home was unlawful, and this is some of what was written in that. In his ruling, the Recorder of London, Mark Lucraft KC, the Old Bailey's Higher Circuit Judge, wrote that he was very troubled by the way in which the search warrant was drafted, approved, and granted, where items were to be seized from a journalist. The judge denied the Metropolitan Police's request for a production order, a legal power that can be invoked in British courts, which could require journalists to disclose documents in certain extremely limited cases of suspected wrongdoing. In essence, the police were asking the court to retrospectively legitimise their unlawful raid. This request was denied. As Judge Lucraft put it, any warrant seeking material in the hands of a journalist requires extremely careful handling. In his ruling, Judge Lucraft recounted that my barrister, Jude Bunting KC, submitted that the court would be hard pressed to find a more obviously unlawful order than the one made in this case. So um, it's a victory for you, but how do you feel about that? I mean, you've got your devices back, but what do you feel like now?
Uh, yeah, I'm happy. It's a great victory. It's a bit of a it's quite a relief to have. Look, it's not about the devices themselves. Like when I posted this online, there was a lot of people saying don't use those devices, they'll have spyware on, etc., etc. Of course, like, I'm aware of this kind of possibility, and I am going to have them examined by experts. But I replaced all the devices months ago. I think in October last year, I actually, while I was still waiting to sort out a new laptop, I actually started writing, and I posted about this on my Substack. I started writing in pen and paper, and I posted a photo of it to Twitter to sort of make the point that, you know, the tools, no matter what the tools are, they're not going to stop me from reporting, which, what they're trying to do. Um, and that I did actually write that article, the first draft of it in pen and paper. So there you go. I mean, it shows like if they take all our devices away, we can still fall back on all the technologies. But it's not about the tools. It's about the legal victory. It's about the precedent that it sets. The fact that this is a ruling that means that the police can't just do these kind of arbitrary raids because they feel like it. Because um there was no wrongdoing. Like they didn't show any wrongdoing. Like I mentioned, you quoted about the production order. A production order is an order that you produce certain documents, and it doesn't. They don't only target journalists. They use in other cases such as suspected fraud and so forth, that you have to produce the documents. So these orders do get used against journalists occasionally to force them to reveal sources and things like that. And the NUJ has tried to combat these kinds of things in the past because, of course, it's a sacred principle of journalism that you have to protect your sources. But they didn't even do that in this case because a production order is not easy to get. You have to show there has to be some sort of
Hmm.
reason. There has to be some sort of suspected wrongdoing, and there wasn't in this case. Like what uh, 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 back in October when you came to my home and did film that clip, Crispin, and since then I've been a bit cautious of what I've said in public. I have talked about it a lot, but I've essentially just recounted what happened in the raid, and I didn't get into what we were doing legally behind the scenes, and so now I can talk a bit about that more. I am still somewhat limited because the police are still investigating me. There's still a criminal investigation. So what we've achieved is we have made it so we've maneuvered my legal team has maneuvered the police essentially into first of all admitting that this raid was unlawful, and second of all that a judge has ruled that as well, the highest circuit court judge in London in the Old Bailey, London Central Criminal Court. And so yeah, it's a massive victory because it means that it makes it harder for them to do similar arbitrary raids on others, and do it on me again. Like they, if you know, I can't say I'm fully out of the woods because, like I said, they still have this criminal investigation, which they actually confirmed on Friday to press, to the National up in Scotland, and to the Press Gazette that they are still the criminal investigation is still ongoing. So it's that so-called that criminal investigation is in my tweets. It's all about tweets. So it's a case of prosecuting free speech of journalistic posts. I can't get into the specific tweets. But there's a wide range of them. I can tell you that. This is, as I said in my Substack, my statement that I posted on Substack this week. It was 80 pages of tweets. I mean, you all know that I've reported on the Labour Party anti-Semitism fraud for for the best part of a decade, really. Um, and it was a bit like that because it was sort of, screenshots of your tweets and then their commentary, but the stakes are a lot higher because it's not expelling you from a political party or whatever. It's they're saying these are potentially criminal tweets under the Terrorism Act 2006. So, I mean, I think so that is still concerning. So I'm not fully out of the woods, but I think they're going to have to drop it at some point because there's no criminality there to show. All of my tweets are journalistic. Sometimes I'm like anyone, I use social media. I might make a joke or a sarcastic point or something like that. But for the most part, I I'm responding to recent news or breaking news or reposting tweets that I might not agree with sometimes, right? So there's a whole wide mix of things there, and that's part of what how a lot of journalists use social media. So, they actually the reports, the 80 pages of tweets that I mentioned. So, we're talking probably 160 if there's an average of two per page, there's probably 160 tweets, something like that. They date from the first one from October 2023 and the second one from I think February 2024. So this is be an investigation that's been going on for a long time now. Um, and yet they still haven't been able to bring any charges. So that just shows you that it's highly unlikely that they're able to. I mean, we'll see what happens. It
I
depends
mean,
how.
do you think this is intimidation, or do you think they actually want information? Because I mean, there's a fear that your contacts, they might have contacts that they could target. And who would that information be for? I mean, specifically, do you think there's a link with Israel in any way that they pass information to Israel?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's both. I think it's intimidation and also a fishing expedition. As a journalist, obviously, I've got a wide range of contacts and information on those devices, including people on this call. Um, so, yeah, I mean, it could be speculating, but maybe, I've reported on Palestine Action in the past, for example. So, it's certainly a valid concern. It would certainly be a valid concern for Palestine Actions activists to wonder, okay, are my communications with Asa now compromised because of the police using these devices? So that was really part of the reason why we took this legal
Right.
action. I mean, it wasn't, we actually didn't take the police to court. The police, the way it worked was um, I'll get back to the question about Israel, but just to make this point first, what happened was my solicitor Taya Bali, who's really excellent, um, straight away, like the day after the raid, he noticed that what the he noticed that I mean, okay, not the day after, but pretty early on, he noticed that what the police had done was illegal because they hadn't applied for a production order. They'd simply gone to a magistrate. Now, a magistrate can't give a production order. It has to be a circuit court judge. So they'd gone to a magistrate and just said, well, there's reason to believe that he may have done violated the Terrorism Act. So when you say Terrorism Act, things go out of the window. Your rights tend to go out of the window. Um, but the point was they acted unlawfully, and he straight away the day after the raid he wrote to the police and he said you must immediately cease and desist from searching these devices, um, you know, in effect, he put a hold on them searching or accessing the devices. We're seeking clarity at the moment, but the police have stated that they did not access my devices. But you don't know these things. So what happened was the police actually applied to the court to say, well, okay, we know we seized the devices illegally, but there's this provision here in the law, which is crazy, right? But there's this provision in the law that if a raid has been conducted illegally, the court can still grant us a production order anyway. So they were seeking to retrospectively make the illegal raid legal, which is
Right.
insane. But there is a possibility in the law to do that, but the judge rejected that. And so subsequently they had to hand it back. In terms of the Israel link, I mean, it was quite clear to me, just on a gut level of how the police were acting, that this didn't seem to be an initiative of the police, that it was done due to political pressure. And you can tell that just from the timings, right? So these reports were, like I said, were dated from October 2023 and February 2024, but it was only in October, well, it was only in September 2024 when these illegal warrants were granted. After, only a couple months after the new Labour government comes to power. So, this new Labour government, stacked with Zionists, stacked with many, many people, ministers, advisors, and so forth, who I've made enemies with over the last decade and reporting on the fake anti-Semitism crisis in the Labour Party and reporting on the issue of the pro-Israel lobby generally. I can't help but think there's a big conflict of interest there, and they're trying to settle some scores. And it certainly seems to me that there was political pressure from the outside. The reports mention the first one mentions a complaint from a member of the public, which seems untrue to me. It seems more likely that it's a complaint from um, you know, someone who's anti-Palestinian racist of some sort. But we don't know. They were unnamed. And then the second one mentions a counter-extremism think tank.
Right.
Who knows who that could be? I mean, it could be any number of right-wing pro-Israel organizations that I've reported on over the years. So, yeah, it's an attempt to kind of weaponize the law against journalists. This is the point that the NUJ made in their statement, and the NUJ, my union, the journalists' union, their General Secretary Lord Davidson put out a pretty good statement this week supporting me and welcoming the victory, and they did actually put their money where their mouth is, and they did finance my legal team. So that was an important component of this victory. I mean, I think uh, that they had to do it because that's what union membership is for, to support your members, especially when it comes to protecting freedom of speech and the journalists' right to protect their duty, in fact, to protect their sources.